So much of our dementia experience was about letting go of conventional behaviour and expectations, rational thought and explanations, and of course, ultimately, of Theo. But so much was also about staying in touch with our feelings and with our hearts, where we still could connect with Theo.
Language can so easily overwhelm and overload the brain during dementia. And at a certain point in the progression of Theo's dementia, we found that using very short sentences was a much more powerful way to connect. So when I was talking about a trip to somewhere he'd known well, I found he couldn't engage or understand. So I stopped and I thought, and I simply said, "We're going camping." And he immediately connected and his face lit up. "Oh, how wonderful," he said. At that time, those 3-word sentences really helped comprehension.
But as rational conversation became more challenging and less meaningful, we needed to discover new ways of finding common ground and connections. We enjoyed creating some wonderfully engaging and increasingly simple family picture books, and Theo took great delight in looking through these and reading them out to us, whether accurately or not. As his dementia advanced, we made books with fewer words and more pictures, tuning into what felt life-giving at any given stage.
Theo really connected with dogs in a new way, both our dog Whisper and Gillian's dog Pedro. In fact, Theo and Pedro formed a bond of mutual admiration, so much so there was a time when Theo would happily share his picture book with Pedro.
A toolkit of objects was also a great way of making connections when words were beginning to fail. An iPad to look at pictures together, or a few familiar objects. For Theo, there were connections to be made with an old briefcase or some cricket bails. As language began to diminish further, we found freedom in new activities and non-verbal communication. Playing ball was always a great way of enjoying time together without the need for language or communication.
Music was another way of connecting, whether listening together or even marching around the room to a military band. And when we brought 80 seashells to celebrate Theo's 80th birthday, there was complete absorbing delight in arranging these shells together on a stool.
Familiar activities could be very reassuring. I love just knitting quietly or playing the piano, simply communicating my steady, non-anxious presence to Theo, who could listen and watch contentedly, feeling the steadiness of my continuing presence with him. Touch also became increasingly important. Literally, we were simply staying in touch.